Here's what's coming up on your horizon. Well, one of my absolute favorite movies is The Shawshank Redemption. If you haven't seen it, it's a story of an individual falsely imprisoned and his enduring perseverance for freedom. Yet there is a subplot in the movie of a longtime inmate by the name of Brooks, played by James Whitmore. Now, Brooks had been institutionalized for much of his adult life, and once paroled, the world had simply passed him by.
Dear fellas, I can't believe how fast things move on the outside.
And his story is one many people still face. Our focus today is feeling like a stranger in a strange land, whether it be a paroled inmate trying to find a job or one of our veterans returning to civilian life, and the work underway in Oklahoma to help those, no matter their circumstance, to reintegrate back into society. Stay with us for Oklahoma Horizon.
Oklahoma Horizon is made possible by the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education.
Oklahoma's investment in career tech provides more than nationally recognized technology education and training. It produces solid financial returns for the state's economic future. Oklahoma Career Tech, elevating our economy.
And the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping good people grow good things. And now, from the Career Tech Studios in Stillwater, here's your host, Rob McClendon.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us here on Horizon. Well, here's a troubling fact. Nationwide, 1 in every 33 Americans is either in prison or jail or serving some type of probation or parole. And while the U.S. makes up just 5% of the world's population, we account for 25% of those jailed globally. And that can get expensive. Since Ronald Reagan was president, prison spending has increased by 5-fold nationwide, a problem that is making some strange bedfellows at our own state capitol. Both conservative and liberals are supporting legislation that could change who's heading into prison and how long they serve. Oklahoma prisons are busting at the seams, hemorrhaging money that many say the state can't afford. State Representative Leslie Osborne.
We started looking at the violence. It's about locking up the people that are violent and making sure the ones that aren't really violent, we're getting out of there, but we're doing something else to punish them.
Well, Oklahoma ranks first in the nation when incarcerating women and fourth when incarcerating men. Currently, our prisons are at 99% capacity, with an overwhelming majority of inmates either nonviolent or elderly, which has some asking the question of when does an inmate no longer pose a threat to society.
We have a criminal justice system that has been built far too much around revenge and retribution and this idea that says, well, it's this crime, so it's this much time, and not as much around really looking at why the crime happened and what you got to do to fix the problem. It's a bit of a gateway.
Brady Henderson is the legal director for the Oklahoma chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union and says Oklahoma's judicial system has a dangerous addiction of its own, which is in need of serious treatment.
We have an over-incarceration addiction that is so bad, one day in rehab's not going to fix it. I mean, that's what it fundamentally comes down to. We've spent years building up a system that locks up way too many of our citizens and does so in many cases for the wrong reasons.
Oklahoma has more than 25,000 incarcerated inmates, and almost a fifth of those are considered senior citizens, which is why Representative Jeannie McDaniel authored a bill that would offer elderly inmates a chance at parole.
I think our average cost for a prisoner is probably, $23,000 to $25,000 a year. But as we age, we need dialysis, heart disease, and all the other things that aging bodies go through. And because people age at such a faster rate in prison without exercise and a different quality of life, we know that they are going to cost more.
I asked the district attorneys.
Yet State Representative Osborne says lawmakers must be careful not to overreach when reworking crime and punishment.
We have to be really careful as a legislature that we make boundaries and parameters, but thank goodness we elect district attorneys and the people that are able to see that, and then they can use their own discretion.
And discretion is something Henderson, a former district attorney, says must be used when prosecuting crime.
Unfortunately, as a prosecutor, we take a snapshot of somebody's life. When someone was before me on a docket, usually what I knew of that person was the worst thing they ever did. And that's what I knew about them.
An unfortunate reality that leads to harsher sentences, more punitive than they need to be.
If somebody is not violent, why in the world are we locking them up, taking them off the payrolls, taking them off of paying taxes, taking them away from their families? Yes, we've got to find ways to make them productive to society while still making a system of where they are impugned, where they're paying back to society.
Well, prison reform has proven difficult for the state. In 2012, lawmakers passed the Justice Reform Act in hopes of curbing inmate growth. But that initiative has gone largely unfunded. Now, currently, the price tag of keeping Oklahoma's 27,000 prisoners incarcerated is about $500 million annually. Now, when we return, we look at how some of our four-legged friends are helping some one-time offenders start over.
You're watching Oklahoma Horizon, featuring some of the good things that are happening in the great state of Oklahoma.
Well, too many offenders leave prison unprepared to re-enter society. A felony conviction can make it hard to find a job, while continued bad habits can make it hard to keep one. But a successful Tulsa-based program is helping female offenders prepare for a second chance outside the prison gate. Our Lisa Hines reports.
First a shampoo, then a trim, and finally a blowout. These dogs are receiving the full spa treatment, and at the same time, they're helping change lives.
Muddy Paws is actually a really great program. What we do is we give people and dogs second chances. We give women that have criminal pasts a second chance. We train them in new careers. You can either be a kennel tech, bather brusher, a pet stylist, or dog trainer.
And Christy Van Cleve knows all about second chances.
I have a little bit of a shaded past, but I had dog grooming to fall back on once I decided to get my act together. And a big part of it is that people that have been in trouble, if they're a felon, they can't get a job anywhere. And with that being said, you can't raise the family on minimum wage or dead-end jobs. So the best thing to do is to make a livable wage. If you can make a livable wage, then you have the means to change your life. A lot of people that don't do well with people do great with dogs. So combine the two and you have a win-win situation.
According to Roy Peters from Pets Helping People, animals are a good fit for this program.
Well, pets are natural. This is just perfect. Now, you could do this same kind of program with auto mechanics, for example, or with cosmetology. But pets are so loving, they give love back, and it's just one more reinforcement for the positive that our students get.
A commitment that starts bright and early every morning.
I leave really early in the morning, about 5:50 in the morning. I drive from out in Sand Springs, drive up to the prison, pick the women up, bring them to work in the morning. At the end of the day, drive them back out to the prison. And it is well worth it to go pick them up, to bring them here to our facility. I did go there and set everything up there, but it isn't quite the same. You really have to bring them here to get the full effect and teach them what they need to learn.
For the ladies in this program, like Christy Dobbs and Ruby McClendon, it's a real lifesaver.
It's given me a chance to build my self-esteem, build my self-worth. It's just, let's see, it's so hard to put into words, you know. For 20 years I've done nothing but drugs, deal drugs. And I don't know how to live a normal, respectable life. So this is teaching me how to do that as well.
But I know I've come a long, long way. And I'm proud of who I am today.
And animals just make the job even better.
The dogs, I love them. I talk to them just like I'm talking to you. It's just, I can't put it any other way than that. I just love them animals.
I love working with the dogs. Dogs are fantastic. It's a fantastic job. I look forward to coming to it every day.
It's that kind of enjoyment in their work that helps those who complete the program find a job and stay out of prison.
We've had this program for 4 years now, and up until 2014, we've had a perfect rate. We've had nobody reoffend. As of January 2014, we have had our first women reoffend. We are now at a 96% recidivism rate, which is fantastic. So I'm very, very happy of our record. 96 recidivism rate is something to be very, very proud of. So that means teaching a career that they can make a livable wage is exactly what it takes to be successful. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of community, and education to be successful in life. And that's all it takes.
And Christy Van Cleve says it takes the whole community to change a life and make them successful.
We don't have to get the government's money to make all these programs work as long as we all work together. And it just takes believing in our fellow man to know that all these people should not be forgotten about. They're just like you and I. And if we all pull together, we can change the world.
Changing the world, one doggy do at a time.
Now, Christy tells us the program is free to not just female inmates, but felons wanting to change the direction of their life. Now, once completed, participants are given all the tools needed to be a dog groomer, making a livable wage, and staying out of prison. Now, if you'd like to learn more about work underway to help inmates succeed once paroled, you can read more about Oklahoma Skills Centers on our website. Just head to okhorizon.com and look under our Value Added section, where we have a nice article and more videos.
Still to come on Oklahoma Horizon, Oklahoma veterans cooking up new careers. But first, the value of character.
Well, putting character first has helped Oklahoma businessman Tom Hill succeed both in the energy industry and in life. He believes traits like generosity, endurance, resourcefulness, and dependability can lead not only to success, but to more happiness. Our Andy Barth had the opportunity to visit with the author of the book, Making Character First, about his philosophy and how it can help everyone from inmates to CEOs.
Mr. Hill, as an employer, what are you looking for in a potential employee who is an ex-offender?
Well, I think the main thing I'm looking for is, how do I trust that person? Typically, when a person commits an offense, they violate a trust issue with other people. And so I just want to know whether or not I can trust them. So frequently what I'm looking for is someone who can vouch for them, someone who knows them better than I do, someone who has maybe mentored them or has been involved in their life, that can say, you know what, I think I can vouch for this person. I'm not expecting them to take all the rap for them, you know, but someone who knows them a little bit better, that says, I think this person's changed and you can take a chance on them.
So what are some barriers that you as an employer have faced with potential employees or employees that you currently have that are offenders or ex-offenders?
Well, you know, barriers fall in a lot of different categories. I think some of the barriers are the fact that many of them don't have the ability to get to work, or they don't know what it means to get to work on time. So it's just little things that you and I might consider common knowledge, but they don't understand that. And so sometimes you have to be a little bit more sensitive to explaining what they need to do in order to be on time and to fit in. I think there's also barriers with other employees who wonder, now, did this person get the job just so you could help them, or do they really deserve this job? And so they're looking for this ex-offender, whatever you want to, how you want to call them. They're looking for this person to step up and pull their weight in the organization. They're not expecting to do more than anybody else, but they're expecting to pull their own weight. They just want to know that, you know, that this is not something you're doing just to help somebody out, but they're actually going to be helpful. I think there's probably other barriers too. But again, the biggest one is trust. Can I trust this person?
Now, I understand that you do, aside from your company, you work in the prison with character building as well. What are some extreme situations that you've seen character work in those prisons?
Well, I think that one example is an example of what's happened at the juvenile detention facility or floor at the county jail, where it was difficult to even, you have members there or people there from different gangs and all kinds of backgrounds, and they couldn't even have them together for a meal or to exercise or anything. But once we begin to teach character there, and we'd teach character 2 days a week for an hour, which is not very long, but they begin to inculcate some of those character values, and they begin to have mutual respect for one another.
Tom Hill, thank you so much.
It's been my privilege. Thank you.
Now, since Hill's creation of the Character First program and Character Training Institute, Hill has taught elements of good character in corporate meeting rooms, schools, detention centers, government offices, churches, and retirement homes across the United States and in 17 nations abroad, which makes Tom Hill this week's Oklahoma Standard. Want to share something you've seen here today? Well, all of our episodes are streaming on our YouTube channel at Oklahoma Horizon TV, or you can subscribe to our weekly free podcasts on iTunes. Well, according to Forbes, the entire military is expected to release 1 million service members over the next several years. And after serving our country, many of these returning veterans often find themselves without work. It's a problem that Oklahoma career techs are aiming to remedy. Joining me now is our Andy Barth.
Well, Rob, a military homecoming is a welcoming event. However, the joblessness that soon occurs afterward is not. Yet, Francis Tuttle Technology Center is cooking up a recipe to put returning soldiers in a new career. From flying up above to chopping down below. For John Aquino, the culinary arts program at Francis Tuttle is offering him a new career and a new life.
I used to fly on the AWACS as a communications technician.
But when he left the service in 2011, Aquino decided to follow his passion, a passion for food.
I started cooking when I was about 13 years old. Both my parents worked, and if we wanted to eat, we had to cook something delicious. So, well, it didn't start delicious.
But delicious came later.
That's delicious.
And culinary arts instructor Andrew Laughlin says Aquino isn't the only vet-turned-chef who has returned home.
I was in the United States Army, an infantryman, done a couple of deployments, Kosovo, did a deployment in Iraq.
And after an honorable medical discharge, Laughlin returned to his home away from home, the kitchen.
Cooking's always been my first choice, and because I was medically discharged, I had to have an action plan to fall back on. Fortunately for me, I had cooking that I always knew in the back of my mind would be something I'd come back to.
Currently, the U.S. Army has 520,000 men and women in active duty, yet budget proposals would cut that number to 440,000. And according to the Pentagon, as many as 80,000 will be leaving the military in the coming year, looking for work.
Put gloves on. The military is going through foreshaping and letting people go, and most people, when you're in the military, you don't have time to plan ahead. So to be able to come out of the military from one career and to move into another one seamlessly it's so important.
Which is why the culinary arts program at Francis Tuttle is seeing a growing number of returning veterans signing up for classes, preparing for life after military service.
I think students are better off coming through career tech because now you have the best of both worlds instead of just college prep. You got college prep, career prep, combine the two, and it's up to you what you do after that.
Helping people like Aquino turn military precision into a civilian career.
You can keep up with us throughout the week. Just head to okhorizon.com where you can see more of any of our stories, read our reporters behind the scenes blogs, see what others are saying about us on Twitter, and face the facts with our regular updates. So reach out and touch us anywhere and anytime. Well, per capita, Oklahoma is home to more veterans than just a handful of other states. The latest census shows Oklahoma is home to 340,000 veterans, many with unique skill sets employers seek. And several groups across the state are working together to help veterans employers make a connection. Joining me now is our Elisa Hines.
Rob, the Oklahoma Military Connection helps veterans transition back into civilian life, providing both job counseling and hiring events. I attended their most recent job fair where both employers and job seekers came together.
There are handshakes, reading of resumes, and a whole lot of talking going on at a hiring event to help our military heroes find jobs.
This is a great opportunity within Oklahoma. This is a great opportunity for businesses, for industry, and for reintegration of veterans back into the workforce.
James Taylor is with the Oklahoma Employment Security Commission and says our veterans have lots of needed skills.
Leadership, training, motivation, showing up for work on time, many different types of technical skills that they bring to the workforce that the employers are looking for.
According to Oklahoma Career Tech's Levi Valdoy, they're on a roll in helping with the initial introduction.
So these are real jobs that are available right now. These companies all come to this event, and every single company has said that they can at least interview and evaluate candidates within 30 days. We have 4 interview rooms going on upstairs, and so we have interviews actually going on right now.
And for vets returning from service, finding a job can be challenging. Just ask Sergeant First Class Terry Brandenburg.
To borrow a phrase from one of my friends to describe what it's like being in combat and then what it's like coming home, the best description I've ever heard is you're living life in full color to come back home and everything's in black and white. Currently, I'm a transitioning service member. I've just come off active duty, with our brigade and our deployment from Afghanistan. Since then, I've worked in a full-time capacity in a temporary status, and I'm trying to take that experience and transition it into a second civilian career. The job market's a little difficult. However, this event today has proved incredible.
Now, sometimes military service makes some employers a little nervous. But according to Lieutenant Colonel Warren Griffiths with the Oklahoma National Guard, that's not a problem at this event.
The employers come knowing that they're going to meet with someone who is either currently serving or who has served, and who has skill sets for the types of jobs that they're offering here at the career fair.
For employers like Jessica Willis with Oklahoma Roofing and Sheet Metal, hiring vets is nothing new.
This event is extremely important. We are actually owned by a former Army Ranger, so a veteran, and we have several former military members as well as an actual active duty National Guardsman who goes to his drill every month or 2, however their cycle works, and we hire at every chance possible. We find our struggle is getting folks into the door because it's hot, hard, laborious work, as you probably know, and once we can get them in the door, it's a great company, and we are extremely military friendly. And events like this that put us in front of former military and current military soldiers and members is fantastic.
In fact, military experience can be an added plus.
You've got to be able to work in a team on your crews, and most of the guys we run into, they've been on teams, military, and then you've got to be able to take direction from your supervisor or foreman, and listening skills a lot of guys don't have, especially if there's a language barrier. So the fact that we can get in front of these guys, let them know who we are, what we're doing is extremely beneficial. And then they also have to, be able to withstand the conditions. It might be raining. It might be 115 degrees on the ground, let alone on a hot black tar roof. And I've run into several infantry guys at this event who said, I'm up to do it. I was in the trenches stationed at this place. So they understand that it's hot, hard work, but there will be payoff and benefits in the long run.
Making the job search easy for applicants, beneficial for employers, and connecting our heroes to the next phase of their lives.
Now, there were over 40 companies at this event, but due to the size of the location, they ended up turning 12 companies away. Other events have had as many as 62 companies, so there's definitely an interest from employers to hire veterans. So far, they've had 4 of these events.
So, Lisa, how successful have these hiring events been?
Well, Rob, at the Fort Sill event, out of 334 job seekers, 173 were offered interviews, and the results were up to 73 vets were offered jobs. But here's the catch to those numbers. Only a little over half of the companies responded back to the survey, so chances are there were many more jobs obtained from just that one event.
All right, thank you so much, Elisa.
You're welcome, Rob.
Next time on Oklahoma Horizon, we sit down with Governor Mary Fallin to talk about the workforce challenges Oklahoma faces.
We're in an international global economy. We don't just compete town to town, state to state, but we compete all over the world as a state and certainly as a nation. And we have to make sure that we have the type of skilled, educated workers that our market demands.
Plus, we'll look at local movie making on Oklahoma Show for the Heartland, Oklahoma Horizon. Well, we are out of time. I'm Rob McClendon. Thanks for watching. See you back here next week.
Horizon is made possible by the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping good people grow good things.